Marvo Monka Part 4 with the Rapid. Good afternoon, welcome to Turbo Tortoise Tech. If you're new here, I'm Reese of the 4-piece variety Orga Triple XL. And we have another Marvo Monka product. This is a 350 Rand full wireless dual connection 2.4 and Bluetooth mouse for 350 bucks, weighs 59 grams. And it's basically a very small Deathadder V3. That's basically, but it's got like more hump, but it's kind of, they just went to Deathadder V3 and or the V2 actually a bit more, because the V3 has a bit more rounded on this side. And they just scroll down on the scale, and that's the shape that you have basically in front of you. And it's quite good, even for a bigger hand, I will say. I would like a bit more on the outer edge over here, just to help me, you know, lift with my pinky and with my thumb like that. But the shape, I have to say, is very, very good. The wireless is pretty good as well. There is, however, just a small problem, but we'll get to that. Anywho, let's go through what's in the box. So inside of the package, you obviously get a really nice braided cable. I've got to say, it's full 2 meters and it's shielded and it's got a nice little rubber strap on it, pretty sick. And then the obviously obligatory manual, just how to connect it up, like basics and stuff, how to switch it on and change from Bluetooth to 2.4, and what the device will be called in Bluetooth mode, etc. Then you obviously get the 2.4 gigahertz dongle and the mouse itself. And the dongle sits inside the mouse. It's got a little hatch on the bottom over there, so you can store it with the mouse when you go out and about, which is pretty cool. On the bottom, you'll also see the switch for the 2.4, the off and the Bluetooth, the sensor hole over there, and then the DPI switch. It's got PTFE feet, so it does glide pretty well as well. It is a little bit more control though than I would say glide overall, just on my general feel from it. And with the lightweight, it's going to be pretty good for people that like control type setups. While the shape is a bit of a direct copy, it's also slightly unique in the fact that it's quite a lot shorter than the Deathadder mouse, and it's got a far more pronounced, at least, middle hump. So if you look at it from the side with the indicator light on the bottom left over there, which shows you if you're in 2.4, if you're in wired or Bluetooth mode with the thumb buttons, you'll notice how pronounced it is and how much higher it is compared to the left-hand side, where it's got this slant, which we can then see from the back of the mouse is quite protracted, and then from the front it just becomes like super obvious how much slant there is. And the result of this is a very nice ergonomic feel. I've got to say, it is a little bit like, it does get lost inside of my flipping 20 centimeter hands. I've got quite big hands even for my heart, and palms that I'm very good at clapping, okay, which is helpful if you need to rent me out for your environment. But the feel of the mouse is excellent, I've got to say. Even with it being a bit smaller, I think it's going to be generally better for most people. You know, we have a high quotient of large Afrikaans people, which is where I got my height from. I know the table's very deceptive. I'm actually 183 centimeters tall, but this guy actually fits even in a bigger hand, which is kind of cool. It's a little bit like if you full palming your index finger and your middle finger are going to go off the edge of it, so you're gonna have to claw back a little bit on it to use it. And clawing back on it is fine because you can go right to the back of the unibody clicks on this. The scroll's nicely rubberized. It does feel pretty good as well when you're using it. Build quality on this is not quite as good as the other mouse that I tested, I've got to be honest. I think that one is a bit more expensive and in general was a bit better. The keyboard and the controller both all outshine this in build quality, I've got to be honest. The mold seams on this aren't fantastic. It feels okay at 350 Rand though, being full wireless. And this is where we come to performance and kind of a little bit of an inherent problem over here. There's a Pixar sensor in here, but it for some reason has a bit of acceleration. There's also no supporting software that I can find anywhere, and I trawled. The last time I managed to find it for the keyboard and for the other mouse. In this instance, I cannot tell you how long I sat trying to find it. Probably an hour and a half, which is an exasperating amount of time for someone that's pretty good at finding, I found it all the other times, there's just no supporting software for this. And so I couldn't program it to the 400 DPI that I personally like to scale off of. So I had to rescale some of my stuff. And at the start, when I was playing like Tarkov Arena, there's been great updates there, by the way. But when I was playing some of that, it started out well. Things started out pretty good, but about 10 minutes in, I started to realize that there was a bit of acceleration on this. It was giving me inconsistent performance per movement. I usually acclimatize to a mouse pretty quickly, even if it has a DPI change, but it became apparent, like I say, after a couple of minutes that it just wasn't like tracking equally. It's rated at 350 IPS and 30G acceleration, so I didn't think it was going to skip out. I'm getting a little bit older. 30G is probably the peak of my ability to react these days, but even so, it just was tracking inconsistently. And so it takes itself out of being like a premium gaming mouse, like the last one that I tested that was exceptional, really, really good, honestly. And this one, it just kind of fell short just because of the sensor, which is kind of sad because it's a unique shape and design. I feel like they probably should have gone with the sensor that they had, you know, the original Pixart sensor, just to get that better tracking performance. I don't think they need to go over 400 IPS or 40G acceleration, to be quite honest with you. 50G and 650 IPS, these are just ludicrous numbers that no human being on earth can really move at. So it's not really necessary. It's nice to have the headroom, but yeah, it just, when I felt the acceleration, my heart just sank, because it's the first of the Monka products that I've tested, you know, keyboard and mouse wise, that just didn't quite deliver. And the bang for buck for it, if it did, would be exceptional at 350 Rand. It just makes it a bit more of a casual gaming product than something that you can use as a budget professional option. If you're going to play FPS and stuff with this, just expect that there is going to be some acceleration on the sensor. So it just goes into like, I play MOBAs casually, I play FPS casually, etc. But if you want really good tracking performance, unfortunately, this isn't the one. And with the supporting products and the good wireless and the good battery, it's such a shame to get to that point and then just be let down by the sensor. The clicks on this as well are not quite as nice as the other one, especially on the thumb button area. It tends to go into the body a little bit too much. It's like spongy because the mount is not like strong inside of there. And the left and right click are okay. They're nothing to write home about. They're a little bit lacking in crispiness. They're a little bit mushy as well. So they use Kales, so I wasn't expecting it to be like super crispy, but yeah, performance wise, I was just like, man, Monka, you're doing so well, and then just shy of getting there. So if you want it as like an office mouse, as a hybrid solution with 2.4 gigahertz and Bluetooth that you can charge it and take with you on the go, that's super light, as like an office mouse type of product, you're gonna pay 400 bucks to get something from like a premium brand, and it's not gonna be as good as this, always comfortable, can guarantee you that. Once they sort out the software and you can program the thing as well, that would be a big help. If I could change the DPIs so that I could do it on the scaling that I would use, which is in sets of 400, that would be really nice, because it goes 800, 1200, 2400, 3600, 6000 and 12,000, and you're not going to be using this on a 4K monitor unless you're using it for work or something like that. So anything over 3200, it's just kind of superfluous, if we're being honest. I don't think a lot of gamers are scaling off of that. If you look at like pro kind of scene, everybody's in the 400 to 1600 on the extreme end, and effective DPIs are usually in the 800 sort of range. So it just doesn't make sense the way that they've set this up. The lack of programmability is a bit of a problem, and really the biggest problem is just that it has acceleration. I think if you were happy to rescale your sensitivity to the DPIs that are available and it worked fine with that, that would have made it a pretty good FPS and gaming mouse. It's a bit more on the casual end, and as an office type product, it would be absolutely fantastic, but I don't think that's what you were going to buy it for. And that's kind of, it's put itself in a corner because of that acceleration, unfortunately. Anywho, that is all I have for you on the Monka Rapid. If you have enjoyed this review, please hit us up with a like and subscribe, and I will see you on the flip side.